Anyone can follow. It takes something special to be an original. Which is why the 2025 Lincoln Navigator SUV arrives with new ways of surrounding you in luxury, including the ultra-wide 48-inch panoramic display and the multi-sensory Lincoln Rejuvenate experience. A true original never stops evolving. So meet the 2025 Navigator, the original that's all new and better than ever. Learn more at Lincoln.com. Lincoln and Navigator are trademarks of Ford or its affiliates.
Recently, we asked some people about sharing their New York Times accounts.
My name is Dana. I am a subscriber to the New York Times, but my husband isn't. And it would be really nice to be able to share a recipe or an article or compete with him in Wordle or Connections. Thank you.
Dana, we heard you. Introducing the New York Times Family Subscription. One subscription, up to 4 separate logins for anyone in your life. Find out more at nytimes.com/family.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam.
On 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, September 18th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Clouds this morning, sunshine this afternoon, high 80. Tonight and overnight clear, low 65, and then Friday, sunshine, high 83. If you are walking out the door with us right now, it is 65 cloudy in Oyster Bay out on Long Island. It's 64 partly cloudy in Bloomingdale over in New Jersey, and it's 66 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
Cops in Rockland County shocked by a crime carried out by a middle school student. ABC yanks Jimmy Kimmel off the air after his Charlie Kirk comments. Mayor Adams says it's time to take horse and carriages off city streets. A home health aide was ripping off her elderly sick client. And a bear walks into a Dollar General in New Jersey. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. We'll go up to Rockland County, where police are really shocked by this crime. Police asking victims to come forward after a middle school student was arrested in Stony Point in a sextortion investigation. The Fieldstone Middle School student under arrest. Now, they have not released his identity because he's a kid. Officials say at least 6 victims have come forward, but investigators have reason to believe there are potentially several hundred additional victims. So what this student apparently did is he pretended to be a female to get male students to send sexually explicit material to him. Here's the police in Rockland County who thought that they were looking for an adult somewhere and were really surprised when they found it was somebody local and a kid.
They were requested for pictures, videos of themselves to be sent, and then they were requested that if they didn't send more, that their pictures and videos would be sent to their friend groups.
Okay, so this young student, middle school student, demanded payment in the form of gift cards, typically less than $100 in return for not sharing these photos. That's what he said to these students who had given him the explicit pictures. Police say the victims had no idea who they were communicating with and took the police some time to figure out who the person was behind it.
A lot of these cases, they end up out of the state, out of the country mostly. So it is a little unusual and a little troubling.
I mean, it's really incredible that this is a middle school student who came up with this plot. The student had been out of the country for some time, did not return to school this fall. He was arrested last week. Now, Fieldstone, if you're not familiar, which I'm guessing you're not, it is a large regional middle school. It has about 1,300 students, which is why investigators suspect there could be far more victims who fell prey to the scam. Again, they think it could be hundreds of students who sent this male student sexually explicit photos, and then in turn, in some cases, he would turn on them for these gift cards to not release these pictures to other people. So now police urging parents to talk to their children and have some judgment-free conversations about what's going on.
Please encourage your children to come forward because there is certainly no shame in coming forward and bringing this to a trusted adult. So please let us know, let a trusted adult know, let the SRO officer know.
Rockland County Police School District plan to host now a sextortion awareness forum for students in the coming days so they all know what's going on. Well, we're talking about students behaving badly. 503, a 17-year-old Long Island student, brought a loaded gun to Uniondale High School yesterday. The weapon, thankfully, discovered when that student went through the school's metal detector, but it set off all the alarms. Security staff found the loaded gun in a backpack, quickly detained the student, called the cops. Here were students on the school's campus yesterday.
We all thought it was a drill. When I was walking to my class next period, which was my Spanish class, the girl was like, somebody brought a gun. I'm like, what? Are you serious? I didn't believe her, but like a lot of people started talking about it. The
Uniondale School District confirming the incident said that safety protocols were followed. Students were alerted something was going on, but as you heard there, they were pretty surprised to have somebody, a fellow student, bring a loaded gun to class.
I mean, someone bringing a gun to school these days after all the shootings that have been happening, it's kind of crazy to me. I find it like, why would you do that?
Yeah, good question. Authorities have not released any details about the actual student. Expect to see a larger, more visible NYPD presence here in the city over the next week.
The NYPD's top brass went over the manpower boost Wednesday ahead of both the Jewish high holidays and the start of the UN General Assembly. Heavily armed units will be posted in front of city synagogues and other sites Monday through Thursday during Rosh Hashanah. World leaders will begin arriving at the UN on Tuesday, which means more police and extra traffic on the east side of Midtown and more drones. Officials say the NYPD will set a record for the number of drones it has in the sky next week. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
WABC News Time 5:05. Mayor Adams calling now for a ban on carriage horses here in the city. He signed an executive order yesterday aiming to harness the industry by the end of next year. So he's going to call for the city council to pass a complete ban. And not everybody's on board in the city council. Now, you remember Mayor Bill de Blasio tried to do this. In fact, it was a promise that he made that he would take horses off city streets if he became mayor. He was unable to do so. So the mayor is trying to figure this out as he may be on his way out. I mean, he hasn't lost the election yet, but things aren't looking good.
20 sponsors. That's a lot of sponsors. So the speaker should not hold it up. Take it to the floor. Allow the members to decide. They believe in a democratic process, and here's an opportunity to exercise that. If you have 20 sponsors already, there should be more than enough to get it over the threshold.
Okay, so not sure that will happen, but the people who are behind the horse and carriage industry, they're really upset. They're represented by the Transport Workers Union, and they're calling Mayor Adams a backstabber, saying he's motivated by greed and trying to get them off the streets.
This is corruption. It has nothing to do with the welfare of the horses, but it has to do with, wanting to get us out of our Hell's Kitchen stables on the west side so that they can be developed.
And he says they're taking their jobs away.
Why would we think this is a defeat? Bill de Blasio said he was going to ban us on day one. Guess what? We are still here.
Yeah, so they say they'll fight back against this, and they do have advocates on their side in the city council. The city says it will work with the carriage horse drivers to buy back their medallions and help them find other employment. And they're open to exploring also this electric carriage program that we've heard about for years. But the people who are in the horse and buggy industry say they want nothing to do with the electric carriage program. WABC News Time 5:09. We're learning more about a close call in the skies Tuesday morning involving a Spirit airline jet and Air Force One. An air traffic controller here in New York did not like how close a Boston-bound Spirit flight was flying to the plane that was carrying President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump to the UK. Now, here's what it sounded like from air traffic control.
Spirit 1300, turn 20 degrees right, vector traffic and defense. Pay attention, Spirit 1300, turn 20 degrees right. Spirit 1300, turn 20 degrees right now. Spirit Wings 1300, turn 20 degrees right immediately.
You can hear the air traffic controller complaining about having to relay instructions twice, repeatedly admonishing this pilot to just pay attention.
Pay attention. Get off the iPad.
Yeah. Okay. So an investigation now underway. NBC News, though, saying that a preliminary probe shows that the two planes stayed far enough apart, but there is an investigation underway. 5:10, just a god-awful story out of Pennsylvania yesterday. 3 police officers dead, 2 wounded in York County. The officers were at the scene amid some rolling farmland in Pennsylvania to follow up on a domestic-related investigation that had begun the previous day when the person behind the door of this home started firing at this police officers, killing 3 of them, critically wounding 2 others. Now, police were able to return fire and kill this gunman. But here is more on somebody who lives in this neighborhood, which is a quiet neighborhood. This is all farmland, so people live pretty far apart from each other. But he heard the gunfire.
I turned around to come back here to get something else, and I heard the gunshots. And I did see one body hit the ground. I've never heard anything like it. It was all at once, but it did last quite a while.
Yeah, so at a press conference, this was early yesterday evening, Governor Josh Shapiro, of course, the governor of Pennsylvania, expressing condolences to the families of those 3 officers.
This is an absolutely tragic and devastating day for York County and for the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
In fact, it was the deadliest day for Pennsylvania police this century. This happened about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. 2 more officers are in critical but stable conditions, so they're hopeful about those officers, of course, keeping our fingers crossed for them. 5:12. ABC has announced it's taking Jimmy Kimmel's show off the air for the foreseeable future following comments about the killing of Charlie Kirk. In his monologue on Monday night, Kimmel raised the possibility that the alleged assassin of Kirk, Tyler Robinson, might have been a pro-Trump Republican. Here's what it sounded like.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from.
All right, so the announcement came from Nexstar Media Group. That's a major operator of ABC-affiliated stations, and they said in a statement that they strongly object to the recent comments made by Kimmel concerning the murder of Kirk. The Texas-based company said it would replace the show with other programming in its ABC-affiliated markets.
In a statement, the company also demanded Kimmel apologize to Kirk's family and send a meaningful donation to them, as well as Turning Point USA. The announcement came after Disney's ABC announced it was taking Kimmel's show off the air for the foreseeable future, following comments about the killing of Kirk. In his monologue Monday night, Kimmel raised the possibility the alleged assassin of Kirk, Tyler Robinson, might have been a pro-Trump Republican. It's unclear when Kimmel's show will go back on the air. I'm Mark Mayfield.
5:13, Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin, Tyler Robinson. We saw him in court on today's Thursday, so it was on Tuesday. He was wearing an anti-suicide smock, as they called it. Now, this was new to me. It was Lisa G has more on what the anti-suicide smock is.
Another name for an anti-suicide smock is a turtle suit. It looks like a bulletproof vest, but it covers your torso in one piece, and it's tear-resistant. It's used in hospitals, jails, and mental health settings, and is made of a stiff quilted material so it can't be folded into a noose. It also doesn't have any cords or zippers. Robinson, who's being jailed on murder charges, is also on suicide watch. Lisa G., 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time, 5:14. We're hearing now an immigration judge is going to order the deportation of Mahmoud Khalil to either Algeria or Syria. Mark Mayfield has more.
Court documents show the judge alleged in a hearing last Friday the former Columbia University grad student omitted information from his green card application. Khalil had been detained by the Trump administration as part of a crackdown on those criticizing Israel's war in Gaza. He was released in June. Khalil's lawyers say they have 30 days from last Friday's ruling to appeal. I'm Mark Mayfield.
All right. In a moment, we're going to head out to the UK, where President Trump and the First Lady were wined and dined by the King of England. We'll do that in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. And here's Justin Ellick.
Thank you, Noam Layden. We'll start here on the diamond out in Minnesota. Trent Grisham homered twice, and Cody Bellinger also went deep as the Yankees beat the Twins 10-5, taking 2 out of 3 from Minnesota in the process. Aaron Judge went 3 for 4 to raise his major league leading batting average to .329. Yankees moved within 4 games of first-place Toronto in the AL East. Grisham tied the game at 2-all with a solo homer in the third off Taj Bradley. In the fourth, he took Bradley deep again for a 3-run shot, his 33rd of the season. Bellinger hit a 2-run homer in the ninth. Luis Gil pitched 4 2/3 innings, allowing 5 runs, 4 earned on 9 hits. 4 relievers combined to blank the Twins the rest of the way, with Fernando Cruz getting 4 outs. The 4 earned runs allowed by Gil were as many as he gave up in his last 4 starts combined. That's 22 1/3 innings total. Up next for the Yankees, they'll travel to Baltimore with the ace Max Fried. Will get the start in tonight's 4-game series opener against the Orioles, with New York holding a 2-game lead over Boston for the AL's first wild card spot. First pitch from Camden Yards is scheduled for 7:15. As for the Mets in Queens, they lost 7-4 to the Padres in the middle game of a 3-game set after taking the opener from San Diego on Tuesday. New York remained a game and a half ahead of Arizona for the final NL playoff spot. Cincinnati and San Francisco are both 2 games back. Juan Soto homered against his former team, equaling the career high with his 41st of the season. Pete Alonso also went deep for the 3rd consecutive game. Starling Marte and Francisco Alvarez also connected for the Mets, and Brett Beatty had 3 hits. Up next for the Mets, Jonah Tong will get the start in this afternoon's finale and rubber game of this 3-game set against San Diego. First pitch from Queens is scheduled for 1:10. And we'll check in on a look ahead to the gridiron tonight. NFL Week 3 already getting underway, 8:15 p.m. Thursday night football. The Dolphins are at the Bills. The Dolphins 0-2 and Buffalo 2-0, and the Bills there 11.5-point home favorites. And looking ahead to the weekend, both of your local squads here. The Jets have the early afternoon slate once again, a 1 p.m. kickoff in Tampa Bay against the Buccaneers. They are 6.5-point road underdogs there. And as for the Giants, on Sunday at 8:20 p.m., that's their kickoff against the visiting Kansas City Chiefs. The 0-2 Chiefs. Giants are 0-2 as well. And the Chiefs there will be 6.5-point road favorites. That is your Sports Noam, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:19. The President Trump, says the bond between the U.S. and the U.K. unbreakable. He spoke at a state banquet last night that was hosted by the King of England at Windsor Castle in London.
Your Majesty, Melania and I are deeply grateful to you and Queen Camilla for your extraordinary graciousness. And to William and Kate, thank you so much. It's been so great being with you today.
King Charles says he cherishes the close ties between the British and the American people. Earlier in the day, the Trumps took part in a carriage procession through the Windsor estate with King Charles, Queen Camilla, and the Prince and Princesses of Wales. They also visited the tomb of the late Queen Elizabeth II and laid a wreath at St. George Chapel. President Trump, here's more. I think this is more from President Trump.
We're joined by history and fate, and by love and language, and by transcendent ties of culture, tradition, ancestry, and destiny. The bond of kinship and identity between America and the United Kingdom is priceless and eternal.
President, First Lady are going to head back to the U.S. today. 5:20. Vice President J.D. Vance offering to send the National Guard now to Detroit to crack down on violent crime there. He made the offer to Governor Gretchen Whitmer during a speech in Michigan yesterday.
Gretchen, we are happy to send the National Guard to Detroit, Michigan. All you got to do is ask.
Now, Michigan Democratic Party chair says that would violate the Constitution and state sovereignty and would be an embarrassment to the city, and they say they don't need it.
It's a violation of our Constitution, of our state sovereignty, and I think it would be an embarrassment here, just like it's an embarrassment anywhere else they do it.
Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan also pushing back against that idea, saying homicides, shootings, carjackings have all had record declines in the Motor City over the last year. 5:21. Illegal immigration across the southern border hitting record low levels under President Trump. That's what FBI Director Kash Patel told Congress yesterday, that known or unknown suspected terrorists no longer have huge crowds to blend in with if they're trying to cross the border.
We've encountered almost zero at the southern border since the southern border has been sealed.
Yeah, so he says, Patel says, our enemy's still trying, though, to sneak across borders. He said that not just the southern border, but he says the northern border as well, coming in from Canada.
The enemy has adapted, and we need more focus on the northern border.
521. Rudy Giuliani going to be ordered to pay over $1 million now to his former defense team.
A New York judge ruled that Giuliani must pay out $1.36 million plus interest in unpaid legal bills to David Hutcher and Cintron partner Robert Costello. Costello represented the ex-New York City mayor as he faced investigations over his dealings in Ukraine and worked for President Trump following the 2020 election. Giuliani contends he never agreed to pay the fees and didn't receive the bills, but the judge rejected those arguments. I'm Chris Coraggio.
Let's go out to Colorado, where one of the victims in last week's shooting at Evergreen High School now will need, we're finding out, that he'll now need lifelong full-time care. Chris Kaler, he's the uncle of this 18-year-old who was shot in that shooting last Wednesday. He says that the 18-year-old is getting well wishes from fellow students, so that has been nice.
While everyone else was just kind of sort of gawking and watching, Matthew jumped into action and was there holding the kid's head, talking them through until whoever came to assist him assisted him.
Yeah, so Matthew's still in critical condition, fighting for his life. A GoFundMe account has been set up to support the family. $100,000 has already been raised.
He loves his friends. Almost every day he's at a skate park until he's told to go home. He just got his driver's license.
Yeah, not surprisingly, the family is taking this all very hard. I mean, having your son shot is, of course, horrific.
That's what his mom is talking about. Like any mother would, but she has had this feeling of that she failed him by not being there to protect him.
Yeah, and Matthew, who was shot at this high school last week, he was adopted at 6 months old. He had suffered abuse as an infant, so of course it makes the story even worse.
To know that history, to know that that's the start he had, makes all of this just a bit even more unfair.
Yeah, the gunman, if you didn't follow this story, was a fellow high school student who turned the gun on himself and committed suicide. 524. The Federal Reserve cutting interest rates for the first time in 9 months. Here's Fed Chair Jerome Powell making the announcement yesterday.
In support of our goals and in light of the shift in the balance of risks, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by 0.25 percentage point.
It comes as President Trump has been calling for the central bank to lower rates for months now. A majority of policymakers say they want 2 more rate cuts this year. So let's see if that actually is going to happen.
Recent indicators suggest that growth of economic activity has moderated. GDP rose at a pace of around 1.5% in the first half of the year, down from 2.5% last year.
Yes, so does it mean another cut is coming? Powell giving his view of the economy during the end of this Fed meeting yesterday.
We've done very large rate hikes and very large rate cuts in the last 5 years, and you tend to do those at a time when you feel that policy is out of place and needs to move quickly to a new place. That's not at all what I feel, certainly.
Okay, so the markets have responded to these cuts. Stocks were mixed after the announcement. The Dow was up over 500 points, while the S&P 500 was little changed, and the Nasdaq was actually down slightly. 525, a business owner says he's taking a stand against immigration enforcement officers.
Ray Williams, owner of Ice Cream Love in Eagle Rock, says everyone is welcome inside his shop, except ICE. A sign in his window says, "ICE off my property, get a warrant." Many of his local customers support the stance, but the shop has received criticism in the form of bad reviews. According to Fox 11, one critic wrote, "These people support crime and criminals over law and order. Do not support them." Williams invites detractors to visit and discuss their concerns over a scoop of ice cream. I'm Phil Hewlett.
526, some New York City coffee shops say they've been affected by the tariffs. Here's WABC's Wall Street reporter Joe Connolly.
The price of coffee has soared by 21%, partly because of tariffs and weather. But the Times says New York coffee shops are still reluctant to raise prices. James Veltri, owner of Solid State Coffee on the Upper West Side, says, I just don't want to squeeze people any more than we have to. He's waiting for 2,500 pounds of coffee. But by the time it lands, he says the tariff could be reduced or doubled. Coffee shop owners in the Village and Williamsburg say we're in situations that nobody wants to be in. Joe Connolly, 77 WABC News.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, September 18th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Clouds this morning, sunshine this afternoon. Going to feel sort of summer-like today. The high 80. Tonight and overnight clear, low 65. And then Friday, even warmer, sunshine, high 83. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 65 cloudy in Oyster Bay out on Long Island. It's 64 and partly cloudy in Bloomingdale over in New Jersey. And it's 66 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 5:38. Let's go out to the campaign for mayor. Did you see this yesterday? The ballot that you'll see when you go to your polling station, either for early voting or on election day, was released yesterday. And it's really interesting. Normally you'd be like, okay, why would this be interesting? But you have the first two people who will appear on the ballot when you walk into your polling station. The first one will be Zohran Mamdani. Number 2 will be Curtis Sliwa. Number 3 will be this little-known Conservative Party candidate. Her name is Irene Estrada. And then Mamdani appears again. So he'll be first and fourth on the ballot. And the reason he's on it a second time is he's the candidate for the Working Families Party. Then fifth, you get Curtis Sliwa again. He is on the ballot for the independent line of Protect Animals. And then you have to get all the way down further till you get to either Andrew Cuomo or Mayor Adams, who are both running as independents. That's a huge deal, by the way, because when voters go in, if you can't find your candidate right away, sometimes you vote for somebody else. So again, it's going to be Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic Socialist, the Democratic nominee, number 1 on the ballot. Curtis, number 2. This unknown conservative candidate, number 3. Then Zohran Mamdani appears again, number 4. And then Curtis Sliwa appears again, number 5. And then you get Andrew Cuomo and Mayor Adams. That's huge. So anyway, I'm sure you'll hear more about that as the day goes on, but that was just released yesterday. 5:40. Let's go out to Brooklyn. We've been telling you about this story since the weekend, this violent death inside a Coney Island nursing home. An 89-year-old Holocaust survivor was bludgeoned to death by her 95-year-old roommate. And police say they found her roommate washing her hands and trying to dispose of the weapon after it was a wheelchair part that she hit her with, trying to dispose of that after this incident took place on Sunday. And now we're hearing from the victim's lawyer. So the victim, her name is Nina Kravstov, and she had come here from the Ukraine after surviving the Holocaust. They lived here for a long time. And her lawyer says there's more to this case than meets the eye. Here he was yesterday.
She was asleep at sometime around 9 o'clock, and by 10 o'clock, she was beaten to a pulp.
Now, so here's some of the arguments he will use in court as he sues this Seagate nursing home where this incident took place on Sunday. One is, why was she put into a room with somebody who has dementia, or at least claims they have dementia? And so here he is talking about that.
Dementia can bring on, unprovoked, out of nowhere, a fit of complete rage. So defensively, That's the defense. Now, be interesting to see how that plays in against the backdrop of apparently discarding the piece of the wheelchair, washing her hands in the bathroom. Now suddenly we begin to see, maybe I do know what I was doing.
Right. Interesting, right? If she had dementia and did not know what she was doing, this 95-year-old attacker, why was she found then, allegedly, I should point out, washing her hands and trying to dispose of this wheelchair part that was used as a weapon? It's a great, note by the lawyer who's representing this victim.
The way she died is like in a Stephen King horror movie.
Yeah, it really is.
This didn't have to happen.
Yeah.
This should never have happened.
Yeah, horrible story. 5:42, police asking for your help finding this creep who punched a 78-year-old woman in the face. She was riding a bus in Gravesend. It actually happened last Friday afternoon, and they're telling us about it now because they just can't find this dope. Police say another passenger punched the victim in her face after the two got into some sort of verbal argument.
Oh my God, I think that's crazy. I think people shouldn't put their hands on other people.
Of course I don't like it. Nobody have to be punched by someone without any reason, even in reason.
Now, the senior who was punched is going to be okay. Apparently, the fight was that the senior told this woman that her child was spitting on her, and then that's when the punch came.
Yes, I fear for my safety. Every time I come outside, I fear for my safety. I think that's very wrong. We mess with old senior citizen people. Very wrong.
Yeah, the victim was taken to the hospital, treated for swelling to her face and right eye. So far, they haven't found the creep who carried out this crime. An alleged Bronx rapist is off the streets, in part because he gave his victim his phone number.
Police arrested Nicholas DeJesus Wednesday and charged the 33-year-old with rape, sex abuse, and more. They say he approached a 33-year-old woman around 5:45 a.m. Tuesday near the Kingsbridge Stop and Shop, grabbed her by the neck and said, "Give it to me or I'll kill you." The woman says her attacker, who called himself Romeo, gave her back her clothing after the rape. It's being tested for DNA. He also gave her his phone number, which led police right to him. Police say he was paroled in July after serving 11 years for robbery. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
WABC News Time 5:44. NYPD says it's going to increase its police presence surrounding the upcoming Jewish holidays and amid the war in the Mideast and next week's United General Assembly. Across the city, houses of worship will start to see some heavily armed police presence with Rosh Hashanah set to begin sundown on Tuesday, or rather Monday, and it'll continue through Yom Kippur, which is the following week. Here is NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch talking about the watch that'll happen among the Jewish community here in the city.
Each attack makes the next more likely. That's how contagion works. Since October 7th, more than 25 attacks or disrupted plots have targeted Israeli and U.S. diplomatic sites. In December, a Virginia man was arrested for planning an attack against the Israeli consulate in Midtown. Last May, a man was arrested at JFK for allegedly trying to firebomb the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, and more drones. You'll see more drones will hover over the city next week as police and federal law enforcement agencies work to expand security for President Trump and more than 200 other world leaders who will be here for the UN General Assembly. And while we're talking about attacks against the Jewish community, investigators in New Jersey now searching for the person behind the act of hate after an Israeli flag was burned outside a synagogue in Tenafly. Cops alerted to this at Temple Sinai on Angle Street. The synagogue displays the flag prominently out front. It was found burnt and ripped apart. Here's the rabbi at that synagogue.
I'm sad, I'm disappointed, but unfortunately this is what our world is. It's hard that it's literally now on our property.
The mayor of Tenafly says the city, the town there, won't tolerate this kind of hate.
First response, of course, is you're angry about it. And when will people learn? When will people, stop with this sort of ignorant behavior? And then you get into dealing with, okay, Is the police chief have it under control? Are there suspects?
The members of the synagogue say they're not going to back down. That Israeli flag's going to go right back up.
We're stronger than this. So it's really, not something that's necessary. It's not something that's going to change who we are. And certainly we're going to be putting up a new flag. So it's not stopping us from being the strong Jewish community that we've always been.
So far, they haven't found the jerk who burned that flag. All right, 5:46. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Ellen.
Thank you, Noah Maleta. And we'll start on the diamond here at Minnesota. Trent Grisham homered twice, and Cody Bellinger also went deep as the Yankees beat the Twins 10-5, taking 2 of 3 for Minnesota in the process. Aaron Judge went 3 for 4 to raise his major league leading batting average to .329. Yanks moved within 4 games of first place Toronto in the AL East. And up next for them, they'll travel to Baltimore where the A's Max Fried will get the start in tonight's 4-game series opener against the Orioles. New York holding a 2-game lead over Boston for the AL's first wild card. First pitch from Camden Yards is scheduled for 7:15. As for the Mets in Queens, they lost 7-4 to the Padres in the middle game of a 3-game set after taking the opener from San Diego on Tuesday. New York remained a game and a half ahead of Arizona for the final NL playoff spot. Up next, Jonah Tong will get the start in this afternoon's finale and rubber game of this 3-game set against San Diego. First pitch from Queens is scheduled for 1:10 p.m. And looking ahead to Week 3 in the NFL getting underway tonight, Thursday night football, 8:15 p.m. kickoff between the Dolphins and the Bills out in Buffalo. Bills there are 11.5-point home favorites. And Sunday, both of your local squads getting their Week 3 contests underway. 1 p.m. the early afternoon slate. Jets are out in Tampa Bay against the Buccaneers. They are 6.5-point road underdogs in that one. As for the Giants, in primetime, they will welcome in the Kansas City Chiefs for an 8:20 p.m. kickoff Sunday night, and they are 6.5-point home underdogs there. That's your sports. No, man, I'm Justin Alec on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:50. Thank God they got this jerk off the street. I mean, this guy's really a putz. His name is Nicholas Fueling. He's 43 years old. He turned himself into police yesterday, now charged with 14 counts of grand larceny. We told you about him last week. This is the guy who would pretend that he owned this apartment in Hell's Kitchen on West 47th Street, then advertised it on Facebook Marketplace as being up for rental, would collect money, first and last month's rent from people, and then when they showed up to get the apartment, they'd find out that he didn't own the apartment and he wasn't able to rent the apartment. Here was one of his victims, somebody who had come here to become an actor in New York.
I was shocked that it was listed at a really good price, to be honest. Like, I thought it was a gold mine that I just got really lucky in my search, and I reached out to him. I saw the place. I saw his Instagram. He was a real person. He ended up sending a real lease to me through DocuSign.
Yeah, I mean, he sent a DocuSign document, so it looked legit. And so he would take first and last month's like $6,000 in all. And in this actor's case, that was like the money he had. So he's living on the floor of, friends while he tries to find another place.
She reached out to me and she was like, no, I just signed that lease and paid him the security deposit and first month's rent a few days ago. And she was hopeful in the beginning that there was a mix-up, but I knew immediately that I was like, no, like, we've been scammed.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy story in that in this guy's case, it was a 2-room apartment, so he was looking for a roommate, and when he reached out online to find a roommate, the first person who got in touch with him said, wait a minute, that's my apartment, and that's how he found out it was all a scam. Anyway, Fueling accused of scamming, well, really at this point, it's untold how many people he has scammed, but what an awful thing to do to people. Take their money, and then they show up. Can you imagine? You pack up your other place, you show up at this place, and then you find out it's all not real. I mean, it's really, what a slimy thing to do to somebody. 5:51. Police say there may be hundreds of middle school students caught up in a sextortion case being run by another middle school student.
Police in Stony Brook say 6 male students at Fieldstone Middle came forward about the online abuse that started in February. The 7th and 8th graders thought they were chatting online with girls who asked for explicit pics and videos on social media. Once the boys sent them, they were threatened, pay up with small gift cards or risk exposure. Police arrested another Fieldstone Middle School student. He's facing child sex abuse charges. He and all the victims so far are all under 16. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
5:52, let's go out to Long Island, where a home health care aide has pled not guilty to accusations that she swiped a credit card from the 90-year-old woman that was in her care and racked up $30,000 in charges over the last 6 months. 48-year-old Sarika Menguru denying the allegations through her attorney. She was faced a judge yesterday. The senior she allegedly ripped off lives in North Woodmere. Apparently, she made a series of unauthorized transactions between June 2024 and January of 2025.
It breaks my heart because this is a lovely woman.
For someone to take advantage of a sick elderly person like that, I think it's terrible. I mean, who can you trust anymore?
Yeah, you got to really think what's wrong with this person. So she allegedly stole the victim's American Express card, added it to her Apple Wallet, and then just went on the shopping spree. The Nassau County District Attorney, Ann Donnelly, says unfortunately she has seen this too often, so she's offering some tips, especially to senior citizens who have home health care aides helping them out.
You have to review your credit card statement every month when it comes in. Maybe ask a trusted relative, a trusted friend to come and go over it together. But another thing you can do is you can put an alert on your cards. Let's say you want to put a $500 alert. If there's anything that costs more than $500, you get notified.
Yeah, all good ideas. 5:54. Did you hear about this? So, we have these these gridlock days that are coming up. There'll be 35. Is that right? Could it really be 35 gridlock days between today and Christmas? I guess that's possible. So one idea that's being floated, you'll love this, is they want to raise congestion pricing numbers. So like $9, it'll go higher on gridlock alert days because they're not taking enough money out of your wallet already.
The MTA wants to discourage more cars when the annual UN gridlock will affect city streets next week, but Governor Hochul may not allow any increases. On the subways, the MTA says there were 26 million subway riders in 1 week this month, the most since COVID. AM New York says 63 subway offenders that each have at least 50 transit arrests have been arrested again. Joe Connolly, 77, WABC News.
Out to New Jersey, where former Long Island Congressman George Santos says he's in solitary confinement after a death threat.
The 37-year-old Santos says he's been forced into solitary confinement at FCI Fairton for at least 30 days while the FBI investigates a threat against his life. In an essay for the South Shore Press, Santos described his new digs as an extremely dirty cell that had a sink, a toilet, and a shower with ice-cold water. Santos serving 7 years in prison on federal fraud charges, calling the prison hell on earth, says he's hoping President Trump commutes his sentence. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
Wild scene up in Vernon, New Jersey in Sussex County where a bear walks into a Dollar General and starts walking through the store, and there are shoppers in there. In fact, one shopper may have been bitten. It's not really 100% clear, but here's a guy who was trying to usher this bear out of the Dollar General. Maybe the bear was just looking for good deals.
Come on, come with me. Come on. He's going through the front of the store. Clear the front of the store.
So several witnesses say this bear appeared to be sick. It was acting erratically. They say it had been terrorizing the area. This is along Route 94 for a couple hours. So police used rubber bullets to scare the bear into the woods, but it came back, threatened people and pets. In fact, and bit this German Shepherd that was in this guy's backyard. Thankfully, the German Shepherd's going to be okay, but he says it was awfully frightening.
They kind of pawed at each other for a little bit. The bear got on top of him. My guys were outside, luckily enough. They pulled, they got the bear distracted long enough to get my dog on a leash.
Yeah, okay, so once this bear had maybe bitten someone in that Dollar General, then gone after this dog, they decided it needed to be taken out. So police officers surrounded it and shot the animal. This woman saw it all play out, and she says it's just sad to watch.
I'm tearing up now thinking about it. I asked the cop, was that just a tranquilizer or did you have to shoot him? And he said we had to shoot him. And I just started crying.
Yeah. New Jersey Fish and Wildlife officials now testing the bear's remains for rabies. Sounds like that may be the issue. The results, though, may not be known for a few days.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?